My fiance's cousin wants our child-free wedding to be their family vacation and demands that we pay for their kids' travel, so we revoke all their invitations. I'm getting married to my fiance in April. We're having our wedding in Italy, as I was born there, and I made sure everyone knew it was a kid-free, 18+ wedding, as there were major safety precautions that had to be taken, like an open bar, water features that aren't blocked off, an open smoke lounge, and multiple other things that may not be safe for kids of any age. The venue didn't forbid children, just suggested against it. The only exception to this rule is my 17-year-old sister, who is my best man. She is one of my two sisters, but unfortunately, my older sister died when I was 10 years old. I always dreamed of having my older sister at my wedding as my best woman growing up. I didn't know I had a little sister at this time, as she was only my half-sister, and we didn't meet until my mom died, and I moved in with my dad at 12, and was thrilled that my little sister was willing to fill this role. The other exception is my fiance's niece, 7, who he adores more than the earth. She's gonna be the flower girl and is going to be the absolute only under 10 allowed at the wedding. If you're wondering about whether or not she'll get lonely being the only young kid there, I promise she will be fine. When my fiance's side got their invitations, back in February of last year, and heard about her being the flower girl, they were ecstatic for her and immediately congratulated us. Only a few people asked about the child-only rule, but nobody complained about it. Until last Saturday, when I got an email from my fiance's cousin, who already RSVP'd for only her and her husband back in June 2023. We hadn't heard from them since Thanksgiving last year when we went to his grandma's, who has since passed, house, and they congratulated us and left it at that. In her email, she explained that she thought it was unfair that my fiance's niece, who is younger than her oldest, was allowed to come, but none of her kids were. I explained to her that we were closer with his sister's family than hers, and it was his dream to have his niece participate in our wedding. It was one of the only requests he made and one of the only exceptions to our rule. After a few days, she emailed me back and told me that she didn't think the rule was fair and that her kids were either going to the wedding or none of her family were going. So I returned her and her husband's tickets. My dad had paid for most of the families on both sides' tickets. It was his big contribution to the wedding, which I am so grateful for, and I revoked their invitations. I emailed her again explaining what happened, and she responded cursing me for ruining her trip to Italy and blocked my email. I've gotten a few other messages from various members of that family calling me a little outlandish and saying I should have heard her out or just let the kids, 3 under 10, come to the wedding, but I didn't want to deal with that stress a month before my wedding. Edit. She had expected my dad to be able to buy them 3 extra tickets on the same plane and, since we are staying for multiple days, get enough extra beds for them, even though the hotels are completely booked and sorted out. Babysitting wasn't an issue for her needing to bring her kids when we were going over this stuff last year. Me and my stepmom went through everyone with kids and made sure their kids were going to be looked after. If it were a problem with not finding a babysitter or not being able to afford a babysitter, we would have helped them with it. She was planning on leaving the kids with her in-laws, who, to my knowledge, were still available when she suggested just bringing the kids. If plans had changed and they could no longer watch them, the situation would have been handled differently. Her husband reached out to me about an hour ago and texted me saying sorry for his wife's behavior. He didn't even know she was making a deal about the kids. Apparently they had had a conversation about how it would be fun to be able to take the kids on a vacation to a foreign country in the future, and she decided this was their family vacation. He wished us the best, and that's all I've heard. We were planning to have a smaller celebration in the US in a few months for people who couldn't come next month. We won't be doing vows or anything, just a celebration of marriage. This event will allow kids as it will not have alcohol and will not have as many risks. Me and my fiancé are discussing whether or not they will be invited to this, but considering her husband's truly heartfelt apology, they will most likely be asked. My fiancé finds this all hilarious. He is not even close to this cousin, but he is much closer to her brothers, who are not on her side. The only people who are really making a fuss is her mom, her sister, and a few more distant relatives.